It's a benching bonanza. 3 NFL quarterbacks benched. Cousins out, Winston out, Will Levis out, and we're making a few picks for those Thursday, Saturday games in the Week 16 NFL slate. All that and more coming up on today's Peacock and Williamson.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks to everybody for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Love our everydayers. Welcome to the new listeners as well. And pause right now. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. You don't want to miss an episode as we roll through every day through the season, postseason, and into the off season. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. It happened maybe a little late. Odd timing, I think, to be honest with you, with the first benching, and it is Kirk Cousins. He is out. Michael Penix, the rookie, is now in at quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons as they try to roll down the stretch the last 3 weeks and earn a playoff berth. After the game, and we mentioned it, that it was like what was the quote from? It was like we got to be better at the quarterback position, right?
They said it like 100 times. It felt like, yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, we got to be better on offense, so we got to figure some things out. It was we got to be better at the quarterback position. So Kirk Cousins now is out, and they are going with the Atlanta Falcons. Michael Penix, the rookie, at quarterback. Is it too late? And what do you expect to see from Michael Penix out there?
I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited to see J.J. McCarthy's first start whenever that happens. I mean, just these highly touted guys, when you actually see them in action, I think is always exciting stuff. It is a little odd because it comes after a win. But I think anyone that watched that game against that Mickey Mouse game or whatever that was going on with safeties and block punts and you block 2 punts and you get a safety and you can barely get past the Raiders. I mean, this thing's down to the wire. I think it's safe to say that any NFL head coach would look at that performance by their team, win or loss, and say, this is not playoff caliber football. We're not going anywhere at this rate. It's Bijan and, other people on the team are making plays and the quarterback is destroying us. And it's been going like that for the majority of the year. So I think it's a move that had to be made. It's unfortunate because you wonder what's Cousins' future, and we can discuss that. Will he be back? Will he be a starter next year in any capacity? But I think it's something you have to at least explore. And my hunch is, again, this is just, reading the tea leaves, the Penix must be pretty impressive in the meeting rooms and on the practice field. And I'm always big on these guys. You can't throw them in when they can't defend themselves. And by that, I don't mean like Cousins, he can't move necessarily. I just mean like I can't check out of the wrong protection and I'm going to get crushed on this blitz because I don't have that kind of freedom or maturity or knowledge of the game at this point. So they must be comfortable with that, I would think. I mean, the surrounding pieces are pretty good.
And it is really unfortunate for Kirk Cousins, and obviously that cliff comes quickly when you when you're an aging quarterback, a little bit older, you're in your later 30s as a quarterback, you've had a long career, and you have an Achilles injury, and you can't blame interceptions to Achilles seems like a weird correlation. But he's just not the same guy. And that's the unfortunate part is the Falcons didn't get the same guy we've seen through Kirk Cousins' career. And Kirk Cousins is probably very frustrated and probably feels like, man, I can't do what I need to do out here on a football field. And so there's two sides of this. And you said they must like what they see from Michael Penix behind the scene. I feel like this is 3 weeks too late, and they might have
me too.
Lost their season because they didn't make this move sooner. So is that because they didn't trust yet Michael Penix? Because clearly Kirk Cousins wasn't playing well? Or was it because there's a lot of money invested in Kirk Cousins, and this was our plan, and we don't want to undo our plan and have all this dead money now as a backup quarterback.
That's a good way of looking at it. Maybe it's just we have to make a choice or a change no matter what. And even if he's not ready, I mean, maybe if he would have blown your doors off, would you have made the move 3 weeks ago? I think that's a good way of looking at it. I'm glad you brought it up that way. And maybe it's just like, well, we're not a playoff team. Is this punting on the season too? Maybe it's hard to decipher. But I even go back to week 1 because, well, they were hosting the Steelers. And the big narrative was Cousins hasn't played all preseason. He gets thrust into week 1. Steelers beat up on him with their pass rush pretty good. And, a lot of it was, that's a shell of who he will be. Well, he never really got much better throughout the course of the year. I mean, this has really been going on since week 1. I don't know what his high watermark of the season was. It wasn't very high.
And you look at the stats. I mean, this isn't 1993. You can't have 18 touchdowns and 18 interceptions.
I mean, all the guys we're talking about benching, it's all about the turnovers.
They're just turnover crazy. And that's not Kirk Cousins' game either, right? Kirk Cousins is a guy that you can trust to run your offense efficiently. And, he'll make some throws. And every quarterback is going to turn the ball over at times, but it doesn't look like the same guy out there. And that's unfortunate. And so I don't know what to expect from. So for the Falcons, you see if the young guy can give you a boost. Maybe you can win out and have an opportunity to go. And you do, if a tie is a win of the division, right? We talked about this. They own the tiebreaker, the head-to-head against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the Bucs have to finish a game up on the Atlanta Falcons. And the Falcons did, as ugly as it was, win that game against the Raiders on Monday Night Football, the Mickey Mouse game, as you called it. I like that. It was not the greatest product the NFL's ever put out there. Part of that is because of how bad Kirk Cousins was playing at quarterback, and it was a little bit better than some of the other games he's played recently.
I mean, they host the Giants this week. I mean, I assume they should be favored in that game.
We're not going to pick. We're going to pick that game on Friday because we're only going to pick we're going to half our 6-pack here. We're going to do a 3-pack of picks today. Just do the Thursday and Saturday games because there's these other stories about the quarterbacks in the NFL. We got to cover these benchings and outlooks for these teams that are changing quarterbacks. And obviously for the Falcons, this outlook is much more fun because first of all, it's a first-round quarterback. Get to see him in his in an NFL game, the NFL start for the first time, which will be super fun. And it's a team that's still in this. And it's a team that could actually go do something with this quarterback, not only this season, but into the future. That's not really the case with these other quarterback benchings. It's just like, wow, we got to make a change here. And I don't know if the future involves any of the guys that they're changing too, like it does with the Falcons. So this one's a lot more interesting. As far as Kirk Cousins goes, next season, I don't know if you, Matt, would be interested in bringing in a guy like Kirk Cousins to your football team. It's a really expensive backup because he's got guaranteed $27.5 million contract next year. And for the Falcons, it's huge dead money.
Yeah.
Post June 1st is like the first time you could even really think that they might be able to cut him. And eventually you'd be a wash money-wise because it would be a $40 million cap hit. I mean, it's like 60-something million dollars, $70 million almost, if you cut him before June 1st in 2025. But post June 1st, basically the cap number is $40 million. And so you would have $40 million in dead money, and then $40 million would leave the books, which would make it $0. So you would be basically have no Kirk Cousins for the same amount of money as it would cost to keep Kirk Cousins. So even that doesn't really help you. Trading him potentially, but another team is not going to trade for that contract right now and guaranteed money, right? Unless a team still views Kirk Cousins as a stopgap starter for $27.5 million. And there's roster bonuses of $10 million in 2026 and 2027. This is a contract that I don't know if they can get out from under unless it's maybe a post-June 1st trade, post-June 1st cut. But I think they're just going to have a really expensive backup next year.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, because obviously he's not a problem child. He's an asset in terms of leadership, experience, good guy, all those type of things. Maybe he'd be a really good mentor for Penix. I don't know how they get along, but I haven't heard anything that they are rivals or any of that kind of stuff.
Cousins, if I had to guess and had to bet, I would think he'd be a pretty darn good mentor and someone to be.
Yeah.
Now, some guys still are not. He probably believes that he still shouldn't be a backup quarterback. And so maybe they can facilitate a trade and take a bigger hit and find a place for him next year. And we also don't know how good Penix is.
Right.
you might fall on his face, and then you go into the next offseason and be like, man, you got to keep Kirk Cousins around because maybe a year out from the Achilles injury and he'll look better, and we don't know that Penix is still ready or good yet. So that's a possibility too.
So I think there is some value even in just saying, let's evaluate Penix at home against the Giants, in Washington, home against Carolina, two of which I think you're probably favored in, even with a rookie, unknown quarterback.
The Falcons with Penix right now favored big. Just refreshed it. They're favored 8.5 at home against the New York Giants.
I think the Giants are just that bad. They would be a dog against everyone on the planet right now.
And maybe that's a great opportunity to be like, okay, here's a bad football game. Let's put you in now. It's not prime time. It's not Monday night. Here we go. Winnable football game. We should be able to go win this game.
I have no clue about if anyone would view him as a starter though next year. We're going to talk about Tennessee. I mean, would you want to go in with Tim and Levis? I mean, if anyone trades for him, I think it's like, we'll give me Cousins in a 7th round pick for a second. You know what I mean? Like, we'll give or Cousins in a second for a 7th round pick.
Yeah,
one of those type of deals.
To get the money off the books for a team that can afford it, that needs a stopgap quarterback.
Still too much. I mean, for considering what we put on paper. Unfortunately, and I'm not dogging the topic, but so much of this is medical. I kind of speculated that when Cousins, it became pretty obvious throughout the season that Cousins was a detriment. I wondered, did Atlanta sign him, get their hands on him? Their doctors start digging into the Cousins situation and said, this is worse than we thought. We should have never signed him to begin with. But we better draft somebody or find a contingency plan because this dude's not long for this world, And is it still looming? I mean, would he pass a physical right now? I don't know.
I mean, clearly it's affected him, and potentially, the upside of this for Cousins, maybe he's not that old. He's not 40 yet. Maybe another year out because Achilles can take a while, and he'll feel a lot better next year. And now he'll have more rest and another offseason and rehab it again, and feel a lot better. And potentially, maybe he could be that guy. But
maybe he's retired.
That's true, and maybe he's just like, well, that's it. I'm not going to be a backup. Although.
A lot of money.
Might hang around $27.5 million. One more of that guaranteed. I guess it's guaranteed. Well, nope. That's the way. That's actually the out for the Falcons. They probably hope he retires because then guaranteed becomes not guaranteed anymore, right?
I think so. Right. I think that's like their only out. Like Deshaun Watson's not retiring. Why would Cousins retire? Right.
All right. Not the only benching. We got 2 more benchings. We got BTR time in Cleveland. Jameis Winston era potentially over there, and Will Levis benched as well by the Tennessee Titans, and we'll make some picks for Week 16 as well next. All the lines we reference today and every day on Peacock and Williamson come from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, and you can get in on all of the action on FanDuel, whether it's a Thursday game, a Saturday game, a Sunday game, a Monday night game, maybe a Christmas Day game. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first bet at FanDuel. And the FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets, all the weekly lines of all those games, tons of weekly props, season-long props, NFL draft props, all of it all in one place on the Sportsbook app at FanDuel or the FanDuel.com site. So head there, FanDuel.com, and join today and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL. Getting pretty excited for the college football playoffs, and you can catch all the action on TNT. It's that time of year. The college football playoff is back, and the newly expanded 12-team format guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into the first matchup, SMU Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the college football playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. So Jameis Winston has been benched by the Cleveland Browns as well, and it looks so promising and fun. The Browns there was snow on the ground, right? When the Browns beat the Steelers. Was that a Thursday night game?
Yeah.
It seems like ages ago now. And then all of a sudden, Jameis Winston went on that interception run, right? And started throwing 3 picks here, 2 picks there. And the Browns have seen enough, and they're going to go back to the young quarterback. We saw a little bit of Dorian Thompson-Robinson last year. Not great results. In fact, Matt, his turnover ratio isn't any better than Jameis Winston. So I don't. And look, we talked about how the Falcons. This is a fun quarterback change because you're excited to see Michael Penix. They've got something to play for. It can be really interesting how this goes the end of the season and into the future with Michael Penix. I don't think DTR is the future for the Cleveland Browns, but they just needed to see something different there, and we'll see if he's developed a little bit over the course of the last year, and can maybe hold on to keep the ball in his own offense on his own team, right? Because nobody's been able to do that for the Browns.
So when they drafted DTR, I commended the Browns. I thought, mid-round, cheap. That's important here because they were so invested in Watson at that point, and it didn't look promising for Watson, but we didn't think it would go this bad. And I just looked at it like you can't pay somebody else to be the backup. And my hunch is what you need to find out here is, can DTR be our number 2? We know he's not the answer. He's not our opening day starter. But if he can be our 2, we've seen enough of him in preseason and this last month of the season that we're comfortable with the 4th or 5th round pick contract on his rookie deal. Great, because we have so much invested in this position. I also think deep down, I don't know that the Browns want to win games either. Say what you want about Winston, but we were talking about this on my Steelers show yesterday. It's like, I would rather play the Browns with DTR than Winston. I mean, Winston could beat you. I don't know if DTR could beat you,
And we'll see what DTR is. And, young quarterbacks can develop, and he might not look exactly the same as the last time we saw him. And he's an athletic guy, and maybe can make some plays and create something that maybe Jameis Winston couldn't. But yeah, it's evaluation time for the Cleveland Browns. Like their season's cooked, and they're like, well, look, Winston can throw a bunch of picks too. So if our young quarterback throws a bunch of picks, well, we learned a lot about that, and that helps us going into next year because we already know we're not going to go with Winston into next year anyway. So I get it, and I'm a little bit excited to see where DTR is right now. He's a player I like you mentioned, and but it's nowhere near as exciting as what Penix could look like for the Atlanta Falcons here. And it's really a similar situation for Will Levis getting benched because Will Levis is the exciting guy. Oh, let's see what we got.
Levis and Winston are the same guy.
He's just a young version, right? And I mean, it's much of the same. This is the opposite though of going with a young guy. This is going with a veteran quarterback that just can allow the other players. Like, you can't evaluate everybody else if your quarterback can't allow you to run your offense, right?
Yeah. So I think this one's a lot different than the Winston thing in that you just signed all these high-priced free agents, the Ridleys and Sneeds and all these guys. And I don't know that you can go to the locker room and say, we're going to keep playing Levis. You can't look those guys in the face and be like, this gives us the best chance to win, because I think everyone on the planet knows it's not true. And that's not me being a Rudolph lover or anything, but he is what he is. He's a solid backup, and he can orchestrate the offense and not kill you. At least that gives you a puncher's chance. I think that's just, you don't have many pelts on the wall. I mean, you're a first-year head coach. You're trying to build something. You can't just lie to your players and be like, oh, Levis gives us the best chance to win. He doesn't.
And if your second-year quarterback is getting benched in week 16, that's a pretty huge indicator that he's not part of your plans in 2025, right? Like,
yeah,
you're going to bench a guy that is going to be the guy next year? I don't think so. And we had talked about how you bring in some competition for him, but maybe not, high in the draft, or maybe not a huge free agent addition that's clearly the one. But if they're off of Levis, then they're off of Levis. And if there's a guy in the draft, you draft him. Or if there's whoever you can get, whoever you can get in free agency, you go get him and bring him in, because they're going to be better. And you're tired of what you're seeing there, and you've probably lost a lot of faith in Will Levis. That's what I feel like with this one, because unlike Winston, he's not a veteran player. He's a guy that you pin some hopes on of potentially being your franchise quarterback. And they're telling us he's not going to be their franchise quarterback.
And this isn't the brutal blunder that Bryce Young looked like. I mean, it's a second-round pick. I mean, it was an early second-round pick. Okay, we gave it a shot. It's not going to destroy us like Cousins or Watson, or if Bryce Young would have been a total bust or anything like that. Okay, move on. But also remember, this coaching staff inherited Levis. Be nice to hire an offensive guy to pick his own dude, as opposed to here's a rookie that's really struggling, or coming off a rookie year that's really struggling. That's your guy. And we saw a ton of it last year. I think we could see more of it, that the Pickett, Ritter, Howe, Mac Jones, they all get traded. Like Levis may end up in Seattle or whatever, you know what I mean? Like someone gives you a 5th round pick for him. Like just go to different pastures,
Yeah, the second chance gang.
Yeah, the second chance gang.
There's a lot of rotating number 2 and number 3 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Guys that were drafted pretty high. But yeah, you're right. 2nd round pick. Talented guy, give him a look. And didn't like what we saw when we gave him a look. Okay, we're going to go back to the well and try again.
I bet there's 8 teams that would give you a 5th round pick for him, though. And then put him behind Dak Prescott or whatever.
He's not expensive. He's still talented. So a team that had a pretty high grade on him in the draft and didn't end up taking him can be like, yeah, cool. We'll bring him in to be a backup. We've already got a starter anyway, and see what we get.
That being said, you kind of alluded to it. This team all of a sudden is quickly running up the boards of least clear path to next year's starter. I mean, they might have to be the team that greatly overdrafts the 3rd quarterback, or I don't want to.
And here's what you don't like about going from Levis to Rudolph, because if Levis is that bad, okay, you've stopped evaluating him and you kind of know what you got there. But if Rudolph goes out there and wins you a game or two, that makes it even more difficult.
Right? And it's a bad quarterback draft. Is my point. Like I don't love the top 2 from what I've seen, but you're probably not a crack at them. And then you just taken quarterback 3, who's really the 35th best player in the draft. Like that's bad business.
And I don't know where exactly the cap situation lies for the Tennessee Titans, because as you mentioned, they did spend a little money in free agency last year or this year. Is there potential bidding more out there for a guy like whoever the best quarterback that's out there on the market, like Darnold? He takes the team into the playoffs and starts winning some playoff games.
I just look, they got a pretty good chunk. They got like the 10th most. They got $63 million as a speak.
Okay, so like, does it all of a sudden there's a bidding war where they're a team like, hey, Darnold, here's a Baker Mayfield contract, right? Pretty good contract, 3 years. We're gonna give it to you, and the Titans are like, here's $60 million. Let's go. We're like, we need a best quarterback we can get, and you're the best one, and we can't do it in the draft.
Or do you trade for a car or somebody like that? Maybe
Yeah, interesting. It's
I don't love their options as it stands here in the middle of December. But
murky path for the Tennessee.
Yep.
At the most important position. Next, let's make a few picks here. We got a Thursday nighter. We got a couple of Saturday night games as well. We're making picks in a 3-pack this week for Week 16 next. This episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by Prize Picks. Got my Prize Picks coffee mug right now. And look, you love watching the game. It's even more fun playing along with the game, right? So you're going to love Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy, whether it's football, basketball, or any of your favorite sports. Prize Picks makes your holidays bigger and brighter, and you can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pixmas and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out. So you win, get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first lineup. For example, it's this easy. You pick 2 or more players and more than or less than on those projections. And you're just playing against those stat projections at Prize Picks. So looking at Jared Goff, more than 230 passing yards. Saquon Barkley, more than 1 touchdown. It's quick. It's simple. And if you hit on those, and the more you hit on, the more you get. And that's right, $50 instantly when you play just $5 at Prize Picks. Run your game. You ever realize that you have too many subscriptions or multiple subscriptions for the same service? It happens a lot, and Rocket Money can help you find it. And Rocket Money makes it so easy to track everything down with your finances. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances is what it is with Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings you everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users. It's saved a total of $500 million in just canceled subscriptions, let alone all the money. In fact, up to saving members up to $740 per year when using all of the app's premium features, not just saving you on subscriptions there. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/LockedOn today. That's rocketmoney.com/LockedOn. rocketmoney.com/LockedOn. Here we go. Time for a 3-pack of picks today. A little muted.
All playoff teams, more or less. I mean, it sure looks like it. Yeah.
I mean, hey, these games are going to be a lot better than the Monday Nighters. I think we just
saw. Yeah.
And even though there's some playoff games involved, at least one playoff team involved there, maybe another if Michael Penix can get those Falcons over the line. We've got the Thursday Nighter, which is the Denver Broncos at the Los Angeles Chargers. Great one here. This is huge. This is like, okay, Broncos can plant their flag. A 10-win season, rookie quarterback. I mean, a phenomenal year already for Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. They exceeded my expectations, Matt. I don't think your expectations were this high for this team. And so they're playing some really good football right now. And the team they're jockeying for position with those wild card standings is their division rival, who happens to be the Los Angeles Chargers. The 9-5 Broncos at the 8-6 Chargers. And it is the Chargers at home favored by 3 Thursday night.
I don't understand the line. I'm jumping on Denver heavy here, which probably means I'll lose on a Thursday night. But Denver's on a 4-game winning streak. Chargers are on a 2-game losing streak. They can't run the ball at all. Their lack of depth is starting to get exposed. I think Denver's defense is clearly amongst the best in the league. It's not like LA has this great home field advantage. I mean, just the fact that it's a short week on the road is nice, but there might be as many Denver fans in LA as there are Charger fans. I mean, I just think Denver's better. They're playing better. And I don't see a huge obstacle except for Herbert's the better quarterback. If you're going to give me points, I'll gladly take it here.
And this is one of those where if you're going to Denver, the altitude and, potentially bad December weather, like the Broncos are like, cool, this is a vacation. We get to go to LA. The weather's nice. I don't think they mind that trip, even on a short week. This is one that I can see why you would bet on the Chargers and think the Chargers are going to keep this close and maybe win this game. And I think it could be a close football game, but that would be me taking the Chargers and getting 3 points. I don't like giving up 3 points.
No, right.
The Broncos right here. So I got to take the points and take the Broncos because I think they're just playing better football right now.
I gotta be shocked if the Chargers blow them out.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I feel the same way. And the Chargers aren't really built to blow people out now. And they're having a difficult time offensively right now, just, because they're built to run the ball and they're down some assets in the passing game. You got Justin Herbert, but they're kind of like, hey, we're going to try to run the ball and Justin, use your talents and help us throw the ball. And, it's getting a little bit more difficult there for them to do that. And so yeah, I like the Denver Broncos here. It's a weird line, but you know what happens, Matt? Every time we say there's a weird line, they're right and we're wrong. So
I know it scares me. Like, what am I missing?
That's what makes me feel dicey about this one. I thought, when we looked at this line, it was like, okay, the Broncos are going to be favored. I'm going to take the home Chargers, but nope, I got to take the Broncos and get 3 points here.
Agreed.
Let's go to Saturday. It's a fun one. We got the Houston Texans at the Kansas City Chiefs. Is this going to be Carson Wentz or Patrick Mahomes? We don't know yet right now.
So I mentioned this earlier in the week, but I think it's kind of an interesting scheduling quirk that these 4 teams on Saturday all play on Christmas. And since Christmas falls on a Wednesday this year, they're kind of making this a Sunday to Thursday flip for all these teams. And they're going to crisscross. The Steelers are going to play the Chiefs and the Texans are going to play the Ravens on Christmas. So they're all playing today so that they're not on 4-day rest or 3-day rest. It's 3 games in 11 days, though, which obviously affects Mahomes quite a bit. Like, from what I understand, we're recording this Wednesday. So they had some sort of practice Tuesday, as all teams do. but it was kind of a walkthrough, and Mahomes was a participant. That doesn't mean he's running around or anything like that.
Yeah.
But the spread also implies that he's playing. Like, I would think there'd be a dog even at home if it was Wentz. I just don't know how you play him if you're Andy Reid, though. Like, I might sit him for both these games coming up.
Yeah, you want the buy.
I want the one,
right?
yeah.
But and maybe this will inform what you do. Maybe you know that it's like, oh, it's close, but let's sit him here so that we know we can play him on Wednesday, and then you get the right amount of rest for him. But I would be pretty surprised if he's able to play the 3 games in 11 days.
Yeah.
And for that
the other
reason,
thing is they protect so poorly. You know, their offensive tackle situation is really, really bad right now. And the Houston Texans are one of the best pass rushing teams in the league. I mean, I'm looking for it right now because I just found this a couple of minutes ago. He's taken 37 hits in his last 3 games before he got hurt. And I don't want him. You're not protecting him well, even when he's healthy. I think the Texans win this game, even if it's Mahomes.
I like the Texans, especially not knowing Mahomes. I think you have an opportunity to get that advantage, and I don't dislike taking the Texans anyway, like you mentioned, even with Mahomes, and the Chiefs aren't blowing a lot of teams out right now. And loves what I saw from the Texans defense last week.
Yeah. I also think that week 13 bye helped the Ravens and Texans quite a bit. I mean, it's a nice time to get fresh where the rest of the league isn't, you know.
And here's the other thing with Mahomes and his injury. I wonder if it's like, okay, we got to sit him now, but he might be able to play the next one if we sit him now. But also, if we win this game, then that allows us to sit him on Wednesday as well.
And there's a lot of different ways of looking at it. Yeah. And you know he's going to be like, soup me up, coach. You know, I mean, and I'm sure he has some weight in this too. But I still think the Texans can win this game with him. So I'm definitely taking the points if there's a chance he's not in there or doesn't finish the game or, you know.
I agree. I think you got to take the Texans here. And I mean, Carson Wentz could go beat the Texans too. I guess it's not like they're going to play with 10 guys if Patrick Mahomes doesn't play. But you know, a banged up Mahomes that can't move around. Give me the Texans. How about the Steelers, who are getting quite a few points at the Baltimore Ravens? This is a disrespectful line, Matt, with the 10-4 Steelers who are visiting the 9-5 Ravens. Baltimore favored by 6.5.
I think a lot of this has to do with the Ravens utterly destroying what I think is the worst team in the league, and the Steelers getting beat pretty bad by what I think is the best team in the league in Philadelphia last week. You know, I mean, there's a lot of recency bias here. I also think that the Ravens are healthy and fresh off the bye. It's early in the week for me to do Steeler predictions in my Steeler life, my Steeler schedule, but I could have told you in April or 2 years ago that if you're going to give me this many points in this game, I'm taking the points because every one of them is a 3-point game. Always.
That's where I was at. Like,
we're
going to play it tight. Or is like
Steelers are going to be pretty healthy too, by the way. Pickens is fine. I mean, well, that's not public knowledge, but Pickens and Watt are going to play, and I would bet everything I have that they're going to be fine. You know,
that was my question because that seals it. And like, look, Lamar could put up a huge game, and if you don't have one of your best playmakers on offense, and you don't have your best player on defense, I can see how this could get away from the Steelers a little bit with the Ravens. But knowing that they're going to play, I think this is an easy one. I think you have to.
I don't know if Vegas knows they're going to play or if everyone out there knows they're going to play, but I feel very strongly they're going to play.
That's what you get here on Peacock and Williamson. Anywhere else. Steelers. Got to take the Steelers here. I see. So we're in agreement on all 3 of these.
We're on all these, yeah. All these lines are a little goofy to me.
We're taking all 3 away teams on Thursday and Saturday as well.
Yeah. Yep.
And getting points.
Short weeks, right? Getting points. Here we go. Give me points in playoff type games, you know.
That is our 3-pack of picks for Week 16. We'll come back Friday to make all the rest of the picks for the rest of the schedule, Sunday and Monday games, right here on Peacock and Williamson. Talk to you then.